All right, we're live. Welcome to TableTalk, where we talk all things tabletop. I'm your host, the Bad Luck Gamer, with my co-host, Blue Boy.
Hello, hello.
And no guests this week. Just us. I guess you'll have to deal. But we're going to be talking about the playtest a bit, and also just kind of like chilling.
Yeah.
It blows my mind to think literally last week the playtest released, because I've been so just like deep in the playtest, looking at things and like writing it down. Like, wait, it's only been a week? It feels like so much longer. I feel like
It really does.
Like, it's crazy to me that literally a week ago, like, we had Phoebe on, which was really cool, and we were talking about this because it just feels like so much has happened since then. And I guess it's just because I've just been reading so much and making really long videos. It's
They've
probably
been
that.
long. Like, yeah, it's insane. I mean, to be fair, if you're going down, breaking down each thing point by point, it's understandable that it would take that long.
I'm glad you appreciate it, Myriad. It's, I wanted to do a reverse, like, bait this time. Because typically, like, I'll do a more, like, potentially, controversial clickbait.
Yeah,
I just want to do the
that's the
opposite.
play.
I want to be, like, overhype. This one, this is, like, godly. This is too good. Just so a bunch of people will hop in and be like, actually, it's kind of bad.
Actually, it's not because of, the remaster.
Right.
Jesus.
I mean, okay. So it's one of those things you just kind of have to take, like, roll with the punches, because the whole point of the playtest is for people to voice their opinions on the playtest material.
Yeah, it's like understandable. But if your issue with the playtest is something not related to the playtest, then it's like, interesting. But also just, it's more of the thing where I keep seeing it on Twitter or just in your comments of someone being upset at the remaster and then not explaining why. They're just like, I don't like this. And it's like people asking, what, why? Nothing. No reply. I just want to know. I just want to know what you're thinking.
Casters lost a couple points of damage.
Oh no,
in
my
their
cantrips. My cantrips that I never use on William yet get the highest damage in our games. Weird.
It's, I mean, I was talking to James Beck from Osiris Games, and we were talking not too long ago just about people's, like, misinterpretation of the game and the rules, and how it's very rare to meet someone who understands games on such a core level. And so you get a bunch of people talking about, honestly, a pretty complex game without any, like, show that they actually understand what they're talking about anything that's actually relevant. It creates a lot of conflicts of, like, viewpoint. It's not even that, like, we're disagreeing on something. We're just not looking at the same stuff.
Yeah, that is true. It's a thing also that I at least understand about myself, where I'm like, I am not like well versed in game design outside of just parroting and seeing the things and techniques I see on Twitter, because I follow a lot of game devs because I just really like seeing how the process is done, and I listen to a lot of those talks. I am out, like, very overtly a parrot of game design. Other than that, all I know is my own game feel. If I play something and I know if I'm like, this doesn't feel right to me. The vibes ain't here. It ain't clicking.
You know,
That's the part
actually,
I value. It's the part I can analyze way better.
You know, actually, just making sure my mic is. I don't know if my mic is the gain is up or not because I turn it up for my recording. I'm just a loud motherfucker. What can I say?
You're loud, but your mic's been fine at least on Discord.
Yeah. But so actually, we didn't really do any small talk, but I want to kind of inject some small talk. Starfield. We've actually both been playing Starfield.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't talked about us both playing Starfield, actually.
That's true.
We just been making fun of you for getting Starfield early, but I also got Starfield early.
Yeah,
so,
I saw you fucking like quietly get it early, and I'm like, interesting, huh?
You were the perfect smokescreen.
Exactly, because I'm very outspoken of like buying it and being like, this game's pretty cool. It's like Skyrim, where it's really interesting, but it's still Bethesda.
Like, so how this all kind of connects, right? As you were saying, game feel and everything like that. I've been watching a lot of people's opinions on Starfield, and everyone kind of has this general, like, it's so bizarre because even the people who have the most like unbaked take on the game, like they've only played it like 10 hours or whatever, are just like, yeah, it's a 7 out of 10, which is a pretty good rating, all things considered, right?
Yeah, all things considered, it's like, because that's the number I'd give it, because at least in my own head of scale, like, 7 out of 10 for me is I liked it. Like, I had fun. I'd play it again. Because I have about 26 hours in the game so far.
I'm somewhere close to that, yeah.
Yeah, and mainly I haven't also been on my computer that much as of recently, so that paused some bits. I've encountered one thing that I like overtly don't like in Starfield so far, and it's shipbuilding. Shipbuilding is really poorly made. I
can see that.
It's just like they have a lot of really cool tools and stuff, but here's the problem, the big problem. The entire thing is about, building a ship and like it's almost like a mobile home for you. There are hab blocks that you can build, which is where like your main walking area, like that main entranceway with all the seats and the bathrooms and the bed. Right. That is an all-in-one mod. That's like the one in your starter ship. They do not tell you where the doors are, but they show it as there's 6 total entrances, like snap points, on a hab block. Yeah. However, the doors are generated based on what the least amount of props in front of the door are. And then there's no way of selecting where the doors are. So you can just make habs that have no doors. So you cannot reach them. So you can't make like a cruiser because these blocks will not snap together. You have to make a line. So just a straight arrow, really fucking long ship if you want a big ship with all the rooms. It is so fucking annoying. Where like, why can't I pick the doors? Why can't I like customize this? And it's the one part where I'm like, I'm gonna wait to mod the game till I make my own starship.
I can see that. I had to mod my starship recently because I get a lot of shit. I've done a lot of base building, outpost building.
I saw that you had those achievements. I was very curious how that works.
Well, because my character is a xenobiologist, and one of the interesting things you can do is you can build outposts where you can collect materials from the wildlife on the planet too, not just like actual extractors. And so I got this idea of building this really cool like bioscience outposts where I have a bunch of like horticulture and animal pens and all that kind of stuff with people working on it and all, and you can get some pretty good materials from creatures as well. Like there's a lot of like base materials that you need for a lot of things, like cosmetics. You need cosmetics for like making helmet mods and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's really annoying to find, but some plants and creatures have cosmetics that you can harvest from them. And when you get the zoology thing high enough, you can do it non-lethally, so you can just have pens with the creatures that you get those materials from regularly, which I thought was cool. And I have like a bunch of outposts right now to get a bunch of materials together, and I've got some crew to man them, and I'm excited to do a little bit more exploring on that. But like all my points have been put in the science tree, so it's like I want to also pilot a better ship, but I don't have the points in it yet. Or I want to do some slightly better stuff with combat, but I don't have the points for it. But at the same time, I've just been having a great old time exploring planets, filling out the survey logs, which you can get a lot of money for those survey logs, honestly. And like just literally hours just doing that.
I haven't done a single full survey log, so this is news to me. You get paid for those?
Yeah, so you can sell them to most vendors, but if you get to Vladimir in the main storyline, he buys them for a better price.
Good to know. I will have to actually do that. That gives me more incentive, because I've been like exploring a bit, but I keep being like, yeah, I want to progress the main story. I guess for your own reference, if you've I don't know where you are in the story yet. I got past Neon.
I haven't gotten to Neon yet.
Expedition. Oh, okay. Neon fucking rules. This is another thing. This is the part that's been fucking me up, and I talked about this in the Discord. It's like, I am really surprised that I am actually interested in the main story in a Bethesda game, where I'm like, I'm entertained, I'm paying attention, I like these characters. It's a rarity, dog. I've played a bunch of Bethesda games. Their stories are pretty fucking dog water. They're so inconsistent with their shit, because like Skyrim had this problem where for every absolutely dope concept it would throw your way, it immediately undermines it with a character that's the dumbest fucking person you've ever spoken to. It's like, yeah, I love talking to Parthenax, who's a genuinely like well-written character with some absolutely amazing lines of like, you're not the person you were born to be, or even debating with you, Alduin's role in this world is to destroy it and have the new era be reborn. What right do you have to stop the cycle? What if someone stopped the cycle before you? And like, you have some options, and then you have like an honest discussion with that. And then you have to deal with Delphine and all of her horse shit. Or you have to deal with Alduin, who is built up to be this really interesting harbinger, and then you talk to him, he's like, I am evil dragon.
Yeah.
I eat things. It's like
most stereotypical villain character you can imagine.
Do you know the original concept for the villain of Skyrim, by the way?
No.
It was the missing emperor, like one of the old septums, like who traveled off to another continent, which is like a lost, really fucking terrifying like area. He was lost during the events of Daggerfall, during the dragon break of Daggerfall or something, and he comes back with an army of dragons to retake the throne.
That's
and
crazy.
The first area is Skyrim, because it's the first. That's like the first stop, essentially. And that's like a so cool of an idea. Like, it's like, oh my god, that's a cool villain. And then evil dragon.
But yeah, so
Star feels so. I like how it's written. I like the characters a lot.
Well, and I've enjoyed exploring. Literally, one of the craziest things that happened to me, I was exploring one of the first planets I decided to explore. I went into one of the caves, which most of the caves are pretty much the same cave over and over again with some differences. I fought an invisible terramorph inside, while voices were talking to me of like, I guess it's victims or something. I don't know. I thought it was just a standard feature of terramorphs because that's the first terramorph I fought. No, most terramorphs are not like that. They're just very dangerous Xenos. But I found an invisible one that I guess I was hearing the ghosts of its victims or something while fighting it. I don't know what happened there or why. There was no data logs or anything.
That that's so dope.
So
That's so
yeah.
cool. Yeah. Have you oh shit, have you been to Sol, the Sol system yet? Have
No,
you
I haven't
found
been
Earth?
to Earth yet.
It's sad.
Yeah, I've heard a lot
Uh
about it.
it's also just like it's been kind of fun of just hearing some parts of the main story where characters are like, I might have to get stationed in Seoul. Oh
Hmm.
god, I hate Seoul. And it's like, what's so bad about it? Then you go there and you're like, yeah, this place is a shithole. Oh my god, this sucks. I understand why you don't want to go here. Alpha Centauri is way better.
But
Um, oh,
so kind of why I wanted to mention this is you said game feel, right? And I was just
yeah,
like,
yeah, go.
it's something that I think is very perspective, and I think it's something that you can just have a complete change. There's a lot of people I've been watching lately who played Starfield that I like to watch, but their opinions on it seem very off. But they always give it the same kind of 7 rating. You know what I mean? So it's like they understand the general qualities of the game, but they also just don't find the fun in the game. And it was just like Charlie, he went on and on and on about like he couldn't go from like point A to point B on a planet. He couldn't go like he couldn't park his ship outside of a city and then go all the way into the city block, I guess. And when he would explore a planet, there would just be nothing there. And I'm like, well, one, if you're surveying, there's a ton there. It's a very interesting thing to explore with the survey stuff. But two, that's because you're going to random blocks on the planet that are just like mediocre pre-gens areas that aren't meant to be that interesting. When you could just go to the actual points on the planet that are actually like pointed out as locations, and they're always huge. There's always a big like mining base or science base. I found a science station that was completely overtaken by giant crabs,
Hmm.
and all the people were dead. And it was
That's
interesting.
what I've been doing. The I go to like the key points and then I kind of spread out from there if I find anything interesting. Where like I've discovered on route to finding like an artifact. I had like a big line of objectives essentially that popped up, and I found a survivalist who was like wounded, and I
Oh
helped him
yeah,
get to his ship. Or along the way, like I found another wounded guy who's also like dying, and his only request was, "Do you have any like pickles? Because I want that to be my last meal,"
that's crazy.
which I did not have. So sorry, bud. Anyways, his 50 cal ammo is very handy, but you know, it was sad that I couldn't get him the food he wanted.
Yeah, and it's like there's so many things to find. I've also been watching After Senju, and he's just like, "Where's all the side quests?" And I was thinking, I was sitting there, I was like, "What do you mean? I literally can't go to a new system without running into a side quest. It
Literally,
happens all the time." And the problem was, he was just in New Atlantis looking for side quests in New Atlantis.
there are a couple, but like, yeah, you have to explore.
The problem is people are treating it like a Skyrim game where you go to a town and you explore and talk to everyone and you find interesting things there. This is space. You're supposed to go to other systems, other planets. And that's where the quests are. It's not just, oh, look at this big city. That big city is so insignificant towards the grander scale of the rest of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So people just they don't have this right perspective when it comes to it. And so you kind of mentioned game feel before about like you're not very proficient in tabletop and you understand like game feel, and I find that to be just an interesting topic because it's purely perspective based, and I think it's something that's based on people's expectations of what they should see in like a game or a system or whatever versus how the game actually plays without actually stepping in and understanding like what the game is offering. And that is, I think, where a lot of the dichotomy is made in gaming, where there's so many people talking about the same game, but there's just times where you see a take and you're just like, were we playing the same game? I don't think you saw the thing I saw or whatever. And it's just perspective based.
Yeah, because I mean, it's a thing where I feel like I can sit down and understand and approach things from the perspective that like the creators want. It's a thing I value a lot, is engaging with art, how the art asks you to engage with it. It's very important, because a lot of times when you see someone being like, I couldn't get into this thing, and it's the thing I've done too, like everyone's done it. Sometimes when you really like break it down, it's because, oh, you were trying to go at this with a method that the movie, show, or game didn't want you to do. You brought something else into it.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that at least. The one part I understand is just like, I'm always in games, I want to achieve a flow state where you are working with the game is working to you, and it is just like everything else is gone. Everything else has vanished. It is just you and the game. And then when a game keeps hitting with like hangups, that's what fucks me up. It's the reason I don't like ammunition tracking. It's the reason I don't like resource management. It's the reason I don't like carry weight stuff. Because whenever it's in a tabletop, it feels like I just hit a roadblock. I'm walking around exploring this really, really cool like thing, and then I bump into a wall. And it's like, oh, well, I'm not actually here in my room, at my desk, on Discord. Which is what, like, that's what Starfield hasn't been doing that to me until I started building a ship. Pathfinder really hasn't done that to me, except for a very few couple things where it doesn't mesh with me, but that's just how it be. Sometimes you stumble into a thing, you're like, I just don't like this thing. I realize I'm not a fan of Magus. I'm not gonna be out here saying Magus is dog shit. I just played it wrong. I went about it with the wrong expectation.
And yeah, Zikiro, pretty much it's exactly that. The auto-generated stuff is mediocre, but it's infinite. You can do it as many times as you want. But they have so much handcrafted stuff that the game in scope is larger than Skyrim, not counting the auto-generated content or the procedurally generated content. And people just don't understand that. They want to fully explore a planet, but that's not what the game wants you to do. The game wants you to go to specific points on the planet, or to do your own thing with the planet as a sandbox.
Explore around, find fill out the survey bits, which now I'm gonna have to do if you can get fucking money for it, because I've been like, I need more money, I need to buy better ships. How do I generate good income?
I mean, it's something I recommend doing if you enjoy the surveying. That's the thing.
Like dicking around on the planets, so I've been having a lot of fun pulling out my scanner, seeing like points of interest and running over, because that part's been fun. I have like the two phases that I want in Starfield. It's like, all right, I want to sit down, play through the story because I really like it, and then the other bit of, all right, podcast or video on, let me run around a planet. So I also am just looking for a nice outpost spot to turn into a player home. I just need to find a really nice looking planet that I like the look of, that also has aluminum. I need those aluminum extractors.
Yeah, that's the first place I built. And definitely, I would say it's not infinite trash by any means. It's just infinite playgrounds. Again, it's a sandbox. Like, it's not meant to be explorable content in the way that people want it to be. It's designed, like, going just on any place on a planet is supposed to be like, okay, here's a new play box for you to do stuff in, make an outpost or whatever.
It's like, I like a lot. I like that they're all there. It's really nice that everything's here, but also, like, you're playing a Bethesda game. Bethesda games are at their weakest in their first couple months of launch, and then the mods start coming out. Because the part that's going to be so sick is, think of literally any sci-fi world that you can picture and just wait until someone makes it. The amount of fucking people I've seen already talk about getting modded ships, and like how the ships that are going to like be modded. A lot of it is people just want the Normandy, the ship from
Right.
Firefly, any Star Wars ship ever, and like we're close to that.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
we're
I've
gonna
already
get some
seen
like
a lot of
launches.
good in-game ship makes that look pretty
Yeah,
solid too. So,
exactly. Like there's already people doing well in game. How long until we get shit that's like even better out just on the mod nexus? I've been
right.
monitoring that nexus. I've been waiting. So far, the only things of note has been a performance booster that I think is pretty needed, an FOV slider, because this game does not have an FOV slider for some reason. I don't know
Yeah.
why. And the Sky UI dev for Skyrim did another UI mod for Starfield. I'm like, it's all right. It's not my style, but it's all right.
That's fair.
I think
But
just a compact UI mod is suitable enough.
but I think all in all, what I'm trying to like round this all back into is, when you're talking tabletop, and especially when we're talking about these new classes, the Exemplar and the Animist, which we'll start talking about. They are, I think, really interesting and good ideas, but I feel like a lot of people just keep coming at them with the idea that they should be something else. Like, it doesn't fit their idea of what they should be. There's so many people who are like, Animus is just a worse shaman from first edition. It's just like, it wasn't supposed to be anything like the shaman from first edition. They have similar theming, but that's like it. And it was meant to be a much more different idea. But because they have the framework of what a shaman is, they're like comparing it, and it's not matching up to what they want it to or would like for it to be. And there's someone who said Exemplar should just be better off as an archetype. And while I can see where they're coming from, the idea of like, your character is a demigod, it doesn't really matter what you do, so a wizard could be an Exemplar, for instance. I think people are getting very hooked, like stuck on the idea that the Exemplar is a demigod, and not that the Exemplar is a class that operates in a very different way. Because the whole shifting divine spark and everything, that's just a play style. That's a different way to play the game. Even though, yes, you have the divine spark because your character is a demigod, it's more of, that's the reason for this class's power. And people are like, well, yeah, but what if I want to play a demigod wizard? And it's like, that's not what we're talking about here. You can be a demigod wizard without having anything from Exemplar if you really don't, want it. You just give your wizard extra powers. You know what I mean?
I can at least see the point of like, it would be cool for a demigod archetype, but I think it's more interesting for it to be a class. So it actually feels significant rather than like, you get a couple feats. Instead of like, oh, here's a whole ass class to lean into the demigod style. Also, two points here for you, Devin. First, I at least never said the game is good because it's moddable. It's a plus. I think the game is good, and then when mods come out, even cooler. It's the same way I feel about Fallout New Vegas or Skyrim. Game's cool. Give me more shit though. That's made by better by modders with more time, less deadlines. Don't have to strict to IP stealing. And then also, you could say that about literally any game. I saw Armored Core 6 fans or Baldur's Gate 3 fans shitting on literally any other game that's been coming out around their time because this game's gonna clear like your game. It's people who just attribute their entire personalities to the media they enjoy. There's no accounting for that. That's on every side of everything. Though the Starfield console wars have been really fucking funny, of accounts just lying about the game and showing clips of like shit that's just like console commands, like, this is your game. It's like, that's not even what the game is. Someone just was fucking around with a console command.
Yeah, I don't know. So many people, it's not even about the game of Starfield. No one's talking about actually Starfield. They're only talking about things that are irrelevant to Starfield, like what system it comes out on, or the fact that they're upset that it's not the space game they wanted.
It's not No Man's Sky. Bethesda never promised No Man's Sky. But I also do agree with people that one of their core complaints is it's basically you're traveling through menus. It's like, yeah. I kind of wish I could just free fly, but they never promised that. I can't have that expectation. If I really want that, there'll probably be a mod to No Man's Sky, the travel system, for all we know. But yeah, that's just a thing. That happens with Pathfinder and shit as well. It's people who are like, new thing? Please, here's my thing.
But yeah, so it's like in all things, and I think why the conversation of feel is very poignant. It's people can feel whatever they want to about anything. It's like people who can who feel that D&D is a really good game, right? It's like when you objectively break it down, D&D has not a lot going for it. But that doesn't change how people have experienced D&D and their perception of it. It's kind of like when you have like an old car, it's like your first car, and you drive it quite a lot, and it's like you have such a sense of that car that you feel you could perform better driving that car than any other car, even if other cars are better. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because you just know exactly how the car feels when it turns or anything like that, and you're just better at driving that car than like someone else's car.
I like my shitty 2007 Hyundai. I like it too much. It's so bad. It sucks, but it's mine.
Yeah.
And I know exactly how that thing works. I know exactly how everything is, and I hate change. So that is very, very good point. I like that analogy for it.
Yeah. That's just D&D for people, you know.
Yeah.
It's that it's their first car, you know, the first car they got that they played a lot of, and they really know how it feels. So when they go to another system, they're like, I'm not getting that feeling that I get when I drive my favorite car or play my favorite game, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's right or wrong, I mean, I think that's just an individual scale kind of thing of do you want this hobby to be expansive, or do you want to just do the one thing you really like about it and, you know, and leave it at that? Because some people, it's just like they don't have the capacity to invest a lot in tabletop, and that's completely fair, and no one should force them to expand beyond where they're comfortable playing. It's when those people are saying D&D is the best game that then everyone starts hopping onto the hate train, because then it's like, so you're saying that you refuse to play or try any other games or look at it objectively, but also claim that your game is the best game. And that's just inviting a fight, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And simultaneously, there's a lot of people who enjoy D&D who get pulled into that fight because people say their game isn't good, and so they're going to defend their little territory, you know? And so when we're looking at these classes, when we're looking at Exemplar and Animists, there's some people that are just like, oh my god, Animist was exactly what I wanted. I wanted a character who communed with the spirits. I love the idea of this character, or whatever. And they're going to be so for the idea. And then there's someone else who's just like, it's just not the class I was expecting it to be, so it's kind of bad. And they have two completely different views because of their impression / expectation of what the class should be like.
Like, I'll say, like, I imagine the Animist is cool, but I am in that camp of, like, I don't think I'd really fuck with it that much. But I also have a feeling that if I really sat down and, like, learned about it, I probably would like it. I've heard it's cool, but it's just like, you have an 11 standing next to a 10, you know?
So let's talk about, now that we got the perspective out of it, now that we kind of like did some soul searching, understood where our place is in the world, let's talk about like actually the characters. I have done a lot of research into both of them at this point. Like I said, it didn't feel like a week. It felt like so much more between last Table Talk and this one. And I want to say Animist, I think, has some interesting ideas, but it feels like it's just taking a lot of concepts from other classes and mixing them all together. While the Exemplar feels really good. They have one feat that's broken, but otherwise, they feel really good. I like the spark changing mechanic. I like it better than Thaumaturge's like items that they have. Their what's it called?
Yeah, I don't remember what they're
the
called. It's like tokens. Like they're the whole thing with the goblet, the mirror, the amulet,
implements,
like that stuff.
Implements, yes. The implements that they have, which it feels like a similar mechanic, but I wholeheartedly feel it's a very different thing. The implements is like this rotating accessory most of the time. Of course, there's the weapon implement that is a weapon, you know. But other than that, the implements just feel like an additional accessory, you know, added onto your character. The icons feel like your character's like equipment, like all of it together. Like one is just a part of your body. The other one is something you wear, and the other one's a weapon. It's something you can do all three at once, and it's expected that your character has all three at once on. Unlike Thaumaturge, which is like, it's more like a thing you have to reach into your pocket and pull each one out. Even though, of course, like, it's not like uncumbersome mechanically speaking, but the biggest thing with, I think, the difference between Thaumaturge and the icons, like implements versus icons, is icons are, you only get one at a time, and the whole point of icons and like their design is they're supposed to flow one into another. But that's how they feel, just like from the vibe I was getting, and all that I think just placed it in the chat. I think the reason I really was like, I like this system, I don't know why. It is kind of like the Devil May Cry stance change, isn't it? Not like a 1-to-1, but just kind of rotating around when like you need the moment, and they kind of all flow into each other once you really understand how to play it. And Thaumaturge is just like, they just have a bag of tricks that they can use at any time. They're not designed to flow into each other. Instead, they're designed to be used when appropriate. Have a tool for every situation kind of deal. Which is just a very different feeling, and also just actually mechanically a different mechanic, you know. For Myriad, the feat that was broken is their infinite celestial arrows, something. A lot of the names are kind of out there. I'll pull it up real quick. But it's broken because for 3 actions, as long as your icon is a ranged weapon or a thrown weapon, you can attack all enemies that are in line, that you can see and are aware of, up to your weapon's first range increments. Which, say you're using like the longbow, that's all enemies within 100 feet of you. That's
Wait, is this the
whole
Cry is Thunder?
No. That's the whole battlefield. It's also a level 14 feet. Infinite Blade Celestial Arrow.
I see, okay. I'm scrolling to that part right now.
It's on page 28.
Bro. What
So
the fuck?
its imminence ability is not bad. Whenever you successfully strike an enemy with your range icon, up to 2 enemies adjacent to that target take spirit damage equal to your weapon icon's damage die. That's not terrible. It's really strong, but
That's extra damage.
it's also reliant on enemies being adjacent, which
Yeah,
a lot of times just doesn't happen.
it's
a
situational.
a lot of times when GMs set battle boards up, they space enemies out intentionally. Well, and see, that's the thing, like, Myriad. That's not the point. The point is you fire a singular arrow into the air and then it multiplies. It's not about you running arrows. You only ever fire the one. But see, the 3 action transcendent ability is you fire a weapon, make a ranged strike against each enemy you are aware of within your weapon's first range increment. If, like, the bow, as we said, that's all enemies that you can see within 100 feet, which is probably most of them, or if not all of them, most of the time. Each attack counts against your multi-attack penalty, but do not increase your penalty until after you made all your attacks. So, that means you can attack all enemies on the battlefield with your max, with no attack penalty. And it doesn't even, you could use this with a heavy crossbow if you really wanted to.
Yeah, it's just goofy. Like, I can see where the problem for that could come in, but, like, at least it's just a 3-action thing.
I mean, I think they need to change it to, like, a burst around you or something, or anything. Because the thing is, right, most classes get, like, a whirlwind strike at level 18, and it only hits all adjacent enemies. So for a level 14 feat, that just lets you hit all enemies.
Yeah, true.
It's kind of dumb.
Everybody. Yeah, could you use it with a siege weapon?
No. You can't make your icon into a siege weapon.
Cowards.
Not adjacent, all enemies in reach. That's fair. It's still less than all enemies on the battlefield.
Yeah, if you're using a fucking longbow. Jesus. That is very funny.
That's broken. And, I know they're going to fix it, because if they don't, it's a mandatory feat take if you're using a ranged icon. There's literally no reason not to attack all enemies on the field at once.
True.
I would be happy if they turned this into, like, a 60-foot cone or something. Even then, it would be ridiculously strong. But making a 60-foot cone would still be way less than what it currently is. Yeah, there's just a lot of ways that I think this one needs to be tweaked to be fixed for the idea. Or even make its transcendent ability 1 to 3 actions, where you could spend up to 3 actions to attack 3 enemies at your full multi-attack penalty within your weapon's first range increment. I think that would even be good. That would still be really strong. Stronger than the cleave, actually, more than likely.
What if let me double check to make sure I'm not suggesting the literally what's already in the feat. But, like, what if instead of doing full damage, it did, like, partial damage to everyone else on the field? Would you still consider that to be busted? If, like, it was the same thing, just did less damage.
If it was the same thing, but it only did your weapon's damage die to everyone, I think it would still be really, really strong, but not nearly as strong. That would probably be it. Or you can make it where it's a basic reflex saving throw against your weapon's damage for everyone within the weapon's first range increment.
Mm-hmm.
That would also just nerf it pretty significantly, I think. And would make it better while still giving you technically the option to attack all enemies on the battlefield. I think that would be fine. Well, like, yeah, but that's one scenario that's unlikely in most situations. There's so many feats that are busted in the right scenario. So that's just not a good argument.
At least it does seem like it's a really dope visual thing, because how many like games have you played with the archer character who has the cool ultimate where they jump up in the air, shoot an arrow, and it like splits into hundreds? It's like dope. But if it just did a little less damage, I feel like that's just kind of the fix, because yeah, you spend 3 actions, you like shoot the boss, and then arrows split off and hit all the mobs. They might not kill any. They might even pick off like 1 or 2 that the other players have been like whittling down. It's not gonna, absolutely change the battlefield, but it's gonna be a nice little like, hey, let me get some quick burst damage to everyone.
Yeah,
some people are low. Let's deal with them real quick.
I think I know they're gonna do something. I don't know how this made it through at this level. I think they just weren't expecting weapons to have that massive of a first range increment. That's the only thing I could anticipate, or they intentionally left it there to see how many people would explode about it, because the devs probably would do fun stuff like that.
I would. I mean, even then, the point of stuff like that is like, here's something a little overtuned, and then even you think like, okay, this might be a little overpowered, and then a bunch of tables actually try it, and they're like, yeah, in practice, not really, not that busted.
Maybe, and that's, again, it's a playtest. It's supposed to have some kind of weird jank in it to see what works and what doesn't work, or what the general public like make of it or whatever. Because they're already making changes to classes that were pretty well balanced before, but people weren't able to utilize that balance because they were just too the skill the learning curve was just too high for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like Alchemist. Alchemist is balanced with all the other classes currently, but I guarantee Alchemist is going to get some buffs in the remaster that is going to break the balance, but no one will know except for the people who know way too much about the game.
And the people who actually play Alchemist, you mean?
Yeah, pretty much, or anyone who would try Alchemist. No, not even that. There's a lot of people who played Alchemist who did it terribly, so... it's so like Exemplar, beyond that one feature, the Exemplar feels good. I love transcendent abilities. I think that works super well. It lets you combo into your other icons really well, and that's, I think, just a really good system. I think the Exemplar is a phenomenally designed class. If I had actually a gripe, it's the fact that your character is just considered like a demigod, because they literally have a spark of divinity that makes them more than human. That's the part, like, it's a well-designed class, but narratively speaking, it's something that is a little hard to like justify how many, because tons of players are going to use the Exemplar.
Yeah, of course.
And then not only that, but like then explaining how a Templar somehow gets beat out by just a fighter in pure combat ability.
Yeah, I get that. I will say one thing I noticed from all this, from like just going through the class, this is definitely one of the classes where I'm like, this makes a lot of sense why it would have the uncommon tag.
The rare trait, yeah.
Rare trait, because like, yeah, of course it is. You're a fucking demigod.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Like, yeah, you are rare. There's not many demigods walking around.
And that's the thing, right? Is you could have stories of a bunch of demigods meeting up together. Like, the fact that demigods meet is actually just not an unusual thing in any sense, because they, of course, it's like there's a bunch of professionals in the same field. Eventually they will meet. You just, because you are in the same circles and are easily recognized. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not cool, right? But there's a lot of just weird implications with the, like, it's like saying, well, if the GM's good, it could work. Yeah, of course. That doesn't mean as a general thing, it's not just weird. Sun Wukong build would be really cool.
And also, like, how easy a Sun Wukong build would be.
So
because there is literally the one that that is like Sun Wukong.
Yeah, the Peerless Under Heaven.
Yeah.
Literally his moniker.
Exactly.
So the Animists, we don't know yet, but the thing with the Animist is that they are connected to spirits, and not only that, but Animists are, if they become significantly powerful enough, are considered to be individuals who can transcend their mortal coil. Like the level 20 Eternal Guide feat, just if you die, you another person from your hometown gets chosen to be the new Animus, and you just reincarnate through them, or your body just manifests in your hometown. And as long as you don't die more than once a week, you're just effectively immortal.
Interesting.
But the Animus is, I think, in the War of the Immortals, the big part of the Animus is going to play is you're going to be able to talk to the spirits of mortals, or even demigods even, who lived at certain times, or to ask power from them. Because a lot of the apparitions that you can deal with is like Witness of an Ancient Battle. That could be like anyone, right? But then there's like the Stalker of Darkened Boughs. And that one's like, that sounds like a particular person. That sounds like a particular, like, legendary figure.
Yeah.
So the Animus is going to be able to channel and communicate with legendary entities, beings, people from prior ages who died but didn't, like, reincarnate or go to a god's realm or anything like that. And they're going to provide a link for the party to interact with. Yeah, and
skim over the Animist. I actually don't know much about what their deal is. I was so excited about Exemplar.
Sure, let me give a rundown then. The Animist is a divine spellcaster that is a half prepared caster and a half spontaneous caster.
Huh.
They get access to apparitions, and they start off with, I think, 2 apparitions, and then they eventually get up to 4. Let's see here. Yeah, you start off with 2, you get up to 4 throughout your journey. And the thing is with the apparitions, and why the class is interesting, is the apparitions that you attune to. Can attune to different apparitions every day. So when we say you have 4 apparitions, it means you have the ability to attune to up to 4 apparitions. Huh. And so it's a class that can flexibly change a ton of class features every day. It's a very flexible class for it. Because each apparition gives you 2 lore skills. It gives you a spell per spell level that you can cast as a signature repertoire spell. And they each give you a vessel spell, which is a focus spell. But you can only use the vessel spell of your current primary apparition. You also get an avatar form, which is only relevant at like level 19 or whatever when you get access to a 10th level spell slot. And then when you use the avatar spell, you can instead turn into your apparition's avatar, more or less. An interesting part, but overall irrelevant because it's not going to be a thing that you'll ever get to use a ton. So, The interesting thing about the Animist is it has split spell slots. So they have 2 prepared spell slots that they can prepare just like a cleric can, which they can select any common spell from the divine spell list or any spells that they have access to for those 2 spell slots. And then they can have up to 2 apparition spell slots that they can use from the apparitions that they have attuned to them. But all their spells are considered signature spells. So, unlike, say, Sorcerer that gets a signature spell per level, right? Mm-hmm. The Animus has 4 signature spells per level. One for each apparition. Now, that sounds strong, but as I mentioned in the video, in the end, the Animus can't choose what their signature spells are, because at most there's only 6 spells per spell level that are actually choosable for them based on what apparitions they select.
Okay.
So, they're a class that can change. They even get feats. True, ranks. You're right. That's fair. They also get feats called wandering feats that also change every day. You can change one wandering feat for another wandering feat, and wandering feats typically relate to specific benefits that you get from your apparitions. So it makes sense that if you have feats tied to apparitions, that they're also flexible like apparitions. So you never are in a day where you're using a different apparition and then you just have a dead feat on your character list.
You know, I do actually, yeah, I was right. I do think this class is really fucking cool. Like, all of these features sound so interesting. Having it be that variable and like changeable and modular, it's that's really sick. However, exemplar.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with Animist is it's just so complicated.
That's the vibe I'm getting.
You have to keep track of so many things. Your character sheet is literally changing every day, or you just don't change your apparitions because you're lazy, in which case you're just ignoring one of your class's core features.
So yeah, I don't know if I would ever have a physical sheet for that class.
Right.
I would always be like, digital. Yeah, I'm playing Animus. I need a digital sheet just for this one.
Not only that, there's some other problems, and I will state, based on a statement made earlier, I have no problem with classes having a level 20 immortality-based feat. You're level 20, you're already considered a god amongst men anyway. And there's so many other ways outside of classes that you can become immortal at level 20 that... You're a level 20 character. You're essentially a living god. Being immortal just comes with that, you know, that's not the point. Immortality is one of those most overplayed things in tabletop, and it makes no sense, because it's like, once your game is done, once your campaign's over, it doesn't matter how long your character lives after that.
You're not playing that part.
You're not playing them, and your GM might not ever use your character as an NPC. So it could just be irrelevant to the setting. But so many people are just so obsessed with making their characters immortal that it's so impractical and is only like a thing that, unless you have a good narrative for it, which, you know, I'll say is something that a lot of people have done. But otherwise, there's a lot of people who want it for absolutely no reason other than the idea that their character just is alive. You know? I
don't know why, but I'm purely picturing you lecturing Sun Wukong for achieving immortality like 5 times.
Right.
Like, you don't need this. What functional, like, the reason is this? And he's just like, I don't know, immortal. Just want to do it.
I mean, far be it for me to tell anyone how to have fun. It's just something that is such a cheap narrative thing in tabletop games, I notice a lot. because it doesn't add to a narrative, you know. It's just that the idea that once the game is done, your character gets to live forever, which is just a happy little thought in the end for you, which is fine, I guess, but it didn't really add to the story or anything. I guess it's a DM complaint, because as a GM, it's like, okay, I guess you're immortal. Cool. Didn't make my narrative better. Didn't make anyone else's narrative better. But good for you. I will also say I also have an immortal character in my repertoire of characters.
That is true.
I only have one, and I've been doing this a long time, and I will never make another immortal character. Maybe a long-lived character, but not immortal. Yeah, like I said, I have no problem with characters having level 20 feats that make them immortal. It's so irrelevant. It's not like a power game thing, because how more power gamey can you get than just being a level 20 character? You could do almost really anything at that level.
What's really standing in your way at that point? Unless your DM is trying to run like a very serious level 20 game where like stakes are high, but for a standard game, yeah, just immortality, it's like, yeah, you're immortal. Good job. It'll never be like, it'll never come up in actual play, but congrats.
Yeah.
It's a nice little thing where you're just like, ooh, yay, my character is now immortal. How nice.
I will say, for what Phoenix just said here, that one I find even more acceptable. The whole Phoenix Blood Sorcerer and just getting the ability of a Phoenix, it's just on theme for your character.
Oh,
right?
Completely.
So, I could totally get behind something like that. I'm just talking about, like, the hundreds of Wizard players who are just like, ah, yes, I did this and this and this spell together, and now I'm effectively immortal. And it's like, cool. Join the other effectively immortal wizards in the long list of tons that exist in setting, you know?
Make an interesting character who refuses to learn those spells because everyone else doesn't, and everyone else is like, so wait, you do have the ability to just not die in combat, but you just say no, and just like, yeah, but why? Then that leads to an interesting character. Why don't they want to be immortal?
It's actually a more interesting thing of saying no to immortality than it is saying yes to it. But anyway, let's talk about the classes some more. So Apparition is okay. I don't feel like it does. I think it has a unique mechanic, but I don't feel like it makes it as unique as the Exemplar's icons. I don't think it's bad. Animist was pretty balanced overall. I don't like Apparition's possession from the Sage practice, because it just feels like a bad ability, and when that will very rarely ever be used. It's good with a level 8 feat, but you know, your subclass should not be good only at level 8 and after.
True. It
should offer you something from the gate that you carry with you. So, Exemplar, I'm super hyped for. I also love the many, you know, like, I'm a mythology buff myself. I love so much about mythology stuff that having a class orientated around a lot of the stuff that I know personally, it's really fun, really, really cool. And not only that, but the class just feels like it's really cool. The fact that you build a name for yourself, you build your monikers, you get...
That's my favorite thing.
You get items, like it's on the Exemplar video. I love how the Exemplar makes your equipment feel like an actual part of your character.
Yeah.
In Pathfinder 2E's kind of item bloat system, you can find cool magic items, but they just feel like another on the pile sometimes because there's just so many. The Exemplar makes you very attached to your equipment because it's, you know, it's a part of your story. It's kind of like Heracles' club, or Cuchulain's gay bolg, or Maui's his hook. I don't remember what it's called. Not super familiar with Pacific native lore. There's just all kinds of things that I find very fun about that, and the fact that you build your power, you make your icons more powerful as you level by giving them extra imminence abilities and extra transcendent abilities, just means you can make a character that's super thematic and built very uniquely. Even if we're like the ironic thing about Exemplar is, even though the fact that most of their abilities and stuff are based off of characters from like our own current mythologies and everything, your combination of abilities and implementation will make for a very unique character despite a lot of stolen elements, which is ironic considering Apparition is a spellcaster that has so many features similar to other spellcasters, but it just doesn't make them feel unique because they don't, I guess, blend that way.
It's the name part is the media part that like I sunk my teeth into, because it's one of the many reoccurring bits in fantasy or like sci-fi stuff. I adore anything that plays with the concepts of names. I love true name shit. I really like the idea of names or a title. I mean, I'm a fucking Custodes player. That's literally their entire shtick, is their names are stupidly long because they get a new name for every exploit. So having a changeable name like that is like, oh, it's so cool. Ugh.
What advice would I give to a new player who wants to be an Exemplar? Well, first and foremost, understand Exemplar is still in playtest. So it is going to be changed and will fully release next year. So it's not a new player thing. You know what I mean? It's not meant to be. It's a playtest. But if you are trying it out for the playtests and you're very interested in it and you just kind of want a very easy way to get into it, my biggest tip is decide on whether you're going to be a big, beefy, strong Exemplar or a quick, cunning, thief-like Exemplar, like Percy Jackson. Even though he's not a thief, but
not really. He's a little tricksy sometimes.
He's very cunning, and it plays into like Odysseus and a lot of other mythological figures who use their brains or not. But the reason why I say that is there's a lot of feats that line up with those two ideas. And so it's a very easy build to build off of that concept. If you pick just one of those two archetypes for your Exemplar, you'll find everything you need as you're playing without needing to come up with it yourself. There's a lot of other ways to play Exemplar. I'm not saying these are the only two ways, but I've seen a lot of really cool stuff for strong, hardy, Hercules like Exemplars, and also just taking the Thief of Moonlight, just being able to steal the light out of people's eyes is so cool.
Oh, JoJo power, I see. That's from part 8. The one sad part that I do hope gets changed is, man, I really want I want something better than light armor.
Yeah. I do
I just
find
want to
it
not
to...
have to go Dex.
That is a very honest thing to say, honestly. I would say that medium armor would do well enough.
Yeah, I'll take medium. I just want still have my character idea that I want to do of like heavy armor style, like exemplar. Basically just like that one trailer for Elder Scrolls Online that's so cool that people forget it's for a shit game, Elder Scrolls Online. That dope ass like Crusader dude with the Zweihander. Just like that, and then godly. I think is super interesting. To be like a really fun aesthetic to hit, and I'm like, I just want to do that.
Well, the hard part about that, Dev Phoenix, is your armor proficiency won't go up with you. So you'll be a little bit behind the curve. Now, obviously, you can just take the Sentinel dedication to get higher armor proficiencies, plus they go up when... Yeah, Sentinel. I mean, I get where you were going, but yeah, Sentinel, it just allows you to do so. But I do feel like the class itself does want to lean Dex because of its light armor proficiency. Or they're just expecting you to play characters who just get hit. Because like Scar the Survivor or Skin Hard as Iron are designed for those kind of features, but not really. I just think full medium armor proficiency would just do them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that might be a thing, Myriad. Honestly, I'm gonna be erupting and use the restroom, but
That's fair.
I just wanted to leave you with something to talk about. Well, talk about what you really like as far as like the icons that you saw.
Yeah. Damn. The fucking Whose Cry is Thunder. Well, that's not an icon. That's a different thing. But let me pour through what we got for icons. This is very much a y'all at home in the chat. Pull up your PDFs. Let's go through the textbook today. Because, yeah, Skin as Hard as Iron is a very cool one. Like, the idea of just my body is armor, literally, is very interesting. It's a situation where, like, I have a character concept, and then the class itself is, like, rubbing against, like, nah, can't do that. Not that way. Let's see, is there one that is... Ooh, yeah. Gleaming Blade for the weapon icon. Just overall, just you can have a sword that does more damage, or you can make a 2 action to make 2 attacks, add those damage together. Pretty dope. God, fucking the one thing I always love about, especially the very new Paizo classes, is they do such a good job at naming things and giving really fun flavor text. I don't see myself using it as much, maybe, even though it is very cool. But Barrow's Edge, like with the just any blade is this weapon, and like the blade rattles in its scabbard as if it wants to be unsheathed so it can consume violence. Just persistent spirit damage, or when you do your actual like ability tied to it, you regain hit points equal to half your damage dealt. Which I guess does lean into the idea that you can make a really solid tank character without doing armor.
Yeah. The problem with that is crits. But...
yeah. I don't want to get crit. I just want to not take damage.
Yeah. Yeah. All in all, I'm happy with this playtest. I think it's really interesting. I think Animus is going to get a few more tweaks to make it feel a little bit better.
Oh, definitely. I see it at least getting some of the most changes, and then Exemplar at least tuning some attacks so they're not as busted.
1 feat in particular, just, you know.
Feet, yeah.
Or if they're gonna keep it, make it like a level 20 feat or something like that, because I won't argue if it's a level 20 feat, but it
reads like a level 20 feat.
Yeah, it's very powerful. And they already said on the Twitter as well that they actually they actually have way more material on these classes that they haven't released yet, that they're keeping for when the books actually come out. So
sweet.
Animus has a few more apparitions, and I think Exemplar is gonna have a few more icons, and maybe some extra feats tossed in, or some extra like epithets you can add.
Yeah,
but
I was
overall,
imagining we'd get some more cool shit, because that's what they normally do for the playtest. They show some and then leave some for the actual book.
But overall, I'm happy, and even if they were both to release today, as is, besides that 1 feat from Exemplar, I'd be happy. They're fine. I don't like Sage from Animist, but it's whatever.
The emanations that are in like the same tier as like the fucking teacher one, is that like level 8 stuff?
The epithets, you mean?
Epithets, yeah, that's what I mean.
Teachers, no, they're level 15.
Yeah, those ones I remember when I was reading through them, I was like, I don't know, these don't seem very interesting. Like they just kind of were like, eh.
Thief of Moonlight is in that tier.
Wait a sec. I might have misread stuff.
The Sovereignty epithet, Teacher of Heroes, is level 15. That's also where you get the Last Ruler and the Thief of Moonlight.
Last Ruler was pretty fun, actually.
Yes. You just command people to kneel for having the audacity of attacking you. If anyone's ever played...
that one that I want.
If anyone's ever done or played anything with the Fate series, there's so many characters who would take the Last Ruler.
If you could relate it to One Piece, then I'd understand what that means. I know Fate exists. I've also been told I might enjoy it, but I don't know.
I think you would like Fate Zero. I think that's the one you would enjoy the most. It's pretty hardcore.
Hell yeah, that's all I want.
Kinesis-sized classes, no. But they will be taking up a good chunk of their book. Honestly, ironically, Exemplar has, I think, is a slightly more feature dense. But that is, actually that makes a very interesting point, and something that I've been noticing and I've kind of been complaining about. I love Paizo, and I am a advanced player. There's no way around it. I understand the game, and I like complicated classes and things, and I can make a lot of good use of these things. But from someone who's very audience-facing and, more importantly, player-facing, Paizo needs to stop releasing classes that are a whole extra side book just to use. They need some less complicated classes, please.
Genuinely.
The last class that was somewhat simple was Swashbuckler. Every class after the Advanced Player's Guide has been pretty advanced gameplay-wise. Exemplar, I don't think is actually that complicated.
I think Exemplar is a class I would say if someone's new to Pathfinder and they're like, what class? I'm thinking of playing Exemplar. I wouldn't shy them away from it. I'd be like, it has a little extra bits to it. There's a method to play it, but I think it is safe to hand to someone who's newer to Pathfinder.
Yeah, I agree. And plus, another thing to remember as well is when you get access to features, because some people will take the whole class and be like, this is an advanced class, not considering that like how features come out like time-wise and how much time players get the ability to like understand them, which does play into it. And I think Exemplar is in that regard not that complicated of a class. I said it's a step up from like Barbarian and Fighter, but not by that much, and definitely isn't as complicated as like Oracle or Magus with its action economy like problems. But what other simple classes can they release that aren't covered by other classes? I mean, Exemplar is already a good example, and who knows what else they might come up with. You know, I want them to release Champion and Player Core 1. Are they not? I thought they were. I could have swore they were, but maybe I'm mistaken. No? Oh. That's interesting because of how much has been put on the whole alignment thing. Honestly, I think it was a bad move by Paizo to release Player Core and Player Core 2 at different times. Especially because Player Core 1 comes out in November and 2 comes out in July.
Yeah. It's like, I feel at some point you should release it all at once. If you're going to do a remaster, make it one book.
I don't necessarily think one book, because so the whole premise of the cores, right, is when you introduce them, they actually removed some classes that were from the original book and put it in Core 2, like Alchemist, because that's not a very beginner friendly class. So they did it on purpose, but because there's like a 6-month gap or more, actually, I think, between Core 1 and Core 2, it's gonna feel like half the players are playing with updated materials and half the players are playing with old material.
Mm-hmm. Especially the fact that like Magus isn't gonna have their changes either. They're gonna in Core 2 as well. It's like
they're not even in Core 2.
Oh.
Only core or base rulebook and advanced player's guide are being in the cores.
Yeah, then because Magus needs those, needs that change if spell schools aren't going to be a thing anymore. So that way it's not like you don't have this period of the time where the game like it just is like that, is people some playing remaster, some not.
Yeah, and
it shouldn't be a problem. Like, I imagine it's still like you can still work around it. It's just it could feel a little weird or a little lame for some players. Like, I kind of wish my shit got remastered. Oh well.
Yeah. Well, especially because like Champion's one I was more particular. Like, what, really? Because Champion's the only class that uses alignment, actually. So yeah. The fact that they're removing that in remaster and they're not putting Champion till remaster or Core 2 is nuts. I mean, it's easy enough to understand, and this is not like a 0.5. Most of what's happening isn't there. Not a lot of things are actually changing. The whole reason why they're even making like new core books or whatever rather than doing an errata is because they're introducing a bunch of new like language, and they're changing some of the like core elements of the game, and so they just want to provide a better onboarding for this new remaster, essentially, and all the content in it. And they also realize that some of the classes they put in their original core book probably shouldn't have been there, like Alchemist. It was just a little bit too much, and it would have been better if they put like Swashbuckler or something into the original core book.
Yeah. It does not. It is definitely a more advanced class, and because someone who did that thing of ooh, let me open up the class list, Alchemist. That sounds fun. Oh, I could be a bomber going through. Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh no. I don't know what any of this means.
In the end, like, I understand the logistics behind it, but it doesn't mean it can't be criticized. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean we can't complain about those issues. Regardless.
I think there's some very like understandable parts to be like, this is a bit weird. I wish they had kind of rearranged some stuff, but I do still trust that Paizo will do right in the end, because that's what they've always done. It'll turn out there's just going to be a period of time where the game is a little weird. That is what it feels like.
Yeah, that's also a thing. Like, it's only a problem for us in the now times, but in a year from now, everything will be released, and it'll no longer be a problem. So
yeah, like later we'll just be fine. It's like we'll be like, oh, remember, that bit where some people got remastered, some didn't. Oh, well, can't relate now. I got all my new books with the new really cool covers.
Yes, I'm totally gonna get the new remaster sketch covers. They look so good.
It looks so nice.
I don't think so, actually. There's not many of the classes post Advanced Player's Guide that I feel like are being overly affected by the changes. Magus, though, does have some stuff that relates to spell schools that is going to be a problem. And that one I completely know is going to be a problem. But something like Summoner, the only one that I can imagine has any real problems is the Fey Summoner, because they get access to enchantment and illusion spells from arcane spell schools. They're probably just going to be like, you get access to illusion and mental effects from the arcane spell list, and that's it. It's like a small errata that is super easy, but Inventor has nothing to do with what's changing, nor does Investigator really. Like, most of them, Investigators in the APG, or Gunslinger, for instance, so a lot of it is just irrelevant for most of the other classes. Besides Magus, obviously, being kind of the biggest one that is being affected. But even then, it's not even that big of a deal. It's just a denser errata than like what Summoner will get. I wonder if Paizo will stop making a lot of Pathfinder 2 content once they release Starfinder 2 content. No, actually. Because they're different teams. They just have completely different teams dedicated to both Starfinder and Pathfinder. So their production won't change.
Fair enough. That's a good method of doing it.
Well, I mean, like, they would have to, even now. There's no point in having a bunch of designers constantly switching between Starfinder, as it currently is, and Pathfinder 2E, because they're just not super compatible. Illusion will be a tag remaining, and mental is a trait. Mental wouldn't be affected anyway. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some of the Starfinder crew did work on the remaster to learn the new stuff. Yes, they are. They're expecting Starfinder to start doing better with 2 because of Pathfinder 2E success.
Safe bet. Honestly, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I don't think a lot of people understand actually how well Paizo's been doing lately. They've been doing really, really good, especially after the release of both Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous. Paizo as a company has been doing really solidly, but the OGL business that started at the beginning of this year has already more than doubled prior year's sales.
Damn, I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
I did know that at least it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense, honestly, with the video games, because there's so many people outside of the tabletop space, and even mainly just the Pathfinder space, who have talked about like, oh yeah, I know Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. That game was really good.
Yeah. And you know, I've been hearing some good things about Gallows Spire, the newest game that came out from Bickham.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fucking Vampire Survivors. Like that's a fun time.
Yeah, if I really wanted to, I probably could have gotten a free copy of Gallows Spire,
Make a review of it.
and gotten in with them. I really could have, but man, it's been such a year. That just would have been an extra project to kind of take on top of what I've already been doing, and with the game releases that have been going on lately, oh boy, it's already been murder. And just this week, I released two videos that were over an hour and a half long. You know, those were long videos.
Just recording that.
And it was also my fiance's birthday this last weekend, which was, you know, it was great. It's great. I was very happy to celebrate it. I got her some gifts and it was great. But also the weekend where the new class playtest stuff was released. So it's like, just a lot of things happening at once. So that's why I wasn't able to get them out like day one. I don't regret that. But doesn't mean I didn't have a lot of work still.
Yeah. Yeah. With how packed and work's been getting, I'm gonna have to crunch some of my video stuff as well. Just not even for like time, just energy. I'm most likely gonna have to record my video tonight because I need to work on my day off tomorrow, so they don't, so all my friends who work there don't die. Part of lame part of working at a hotel, you know, when someone calls out, you can look down at your task list and see the jobs getting harder and longer.
Yeah.
Like, yay.
I mean, that's most businesses, to be fair.
Yeah, it's the most where I've actually been able to see it, like a tangible thing where I can look down and be like, that's the reason.
Yeah. Oof. I also have a wedding I'm going to, like, next week, which is just...
Oh, yeah, that is next week, isn't it?
Yeah. There's just so much that's happening right now. This has been a very tumultuous year for me, personally. Yeah. I mean, hell, we have a new house, you know, which we've been having problems with. Y'all probably don't know, most of you, but, like, our furnace system kind of just broke last weekend, and we didn't get it fixed until yesterday. It wasn't that it wouldn't turn on, but it wouldn't turn off. So at night, when it's cold, that you want a little bit of heat to keep things going, you know, we had to decide whether we want to sleep in the cold or wake up sweating. Not a great time.
Sleeping in the cold is better. You can get warm, but you cannot get cold.
But one of the reasons why we just kept it off, but it did make it very cold. Like, I sleep on my arm, so my arm would be freezing.
Yeah, fair.
So, yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like life's been crazy, and that's why one of the reasons, I won't say it's the only reason, I will own up to the fact that there's been a few weeks where I didn't release all of the videos that I normally would because of Baldur's Gate 3, Armored Core 6. Not Starfield though. Starfield is a good game, but it's not one I've been like not working during, so.
Same. Like, I like Starfield a lot, but you know, I don't think it's gonna eat my life. I have other things that I've been actively playing next to it that I didn't with Baldur's Gate. Like Armored Core, I'm still very kind of slowly making my way through. Every time when I sit down to like play a game on my computer, I boot up Armored Core and I play like maybe like 4 or 5 missions and I stop. Just like I'm taking it one foot at a time so I don't get burnt out.
That's
but
fair.
I just got the Moonlight Greatsword.
Oh,
That's pretty
nice.
cool.
You're getting close to the end of your first game.
Oh shit! I'm actually close to the end. I thought there were
Yeah.
more chapters. Damn.
Well,
'cause I
the
got
thing
New
is
Game
you're
Plus
supposed to
2.
play the campaign 3 times. So.
Oh yeah, I definitely have seen multiple branches where I'm like, yeah, I gotta because I went with fucking Arquebus. They got really strong, and then I had to fight Rusty, so now I'm sad.
That's sad. Yeah.
He's my buddy. I don't want to fight him.
Yeah. I'm tempted to do one more playthrough. I've already beaten New Game Plus Plus. I played 3 times already, but I'm tempted to do one more because I'm curious about something. But
Do they give you more parts the more you like do New Game Plus and stuff?
a handful
Okay.
per new game. But I will say one of the great things about Armored Core that I really like is by the time you're done by like chapter 2 or 3, you have you can beat the whole game and New Game Plus and New Game Plus Plus with the parts you have.
Yeah, I have my pretty solid build with the long range shotgun, the spike punch, the songbird like grenade launcher, and then a ever increasing rocket pod.
Yeah,
that's all I've been needing.
It's a great game because it's skill based. It's not gear based. You do get more gear, and some of that gear is really good, but none of it is so overpowered that it doesn't make sense. And honestly, if you want easy, here's a helpful hint for anyone who's struggling with the game. You wanna make the game easy for you. Just go missile boat, play a tetrapod missile boat, and just fly in the air and just use a billion rockets. It kills most enemies and most bosses in the game.
Yeah. I've been having a lot of fun, like, surviving with, like, 100 or so health and getting the final charge punch on a boss, and they just explode. There's so many times where I've had, like, enemy ACs, you know, with their full, like, med packs, and then, like, I kill them before they can even use the first one. And it's like, oh, sweet. And then some bosses where I'm like, oh god. The one boss, the coral, like a mech you fight.
Yeah.
With like, oh my god, moving around so fast with like those weird laser drones. So sick, but oh my god. I'm so happy I had my punch. Does so much damage.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. It's a really good game.
I'm having a great time. It is very cool. And it's also, the more I play it, the more I'm like, how much am I missing of like old Armored Core games? I know I've heard the Fires of Ibis before. I know that phrase. Is that from a previous game?
Yeah, the Ibis stuff has come up in prior games. None of the games are connected, really lore-wise. It's just reoccurring themes.
Okay.
But I will say, Armored Core, as someone who played 4 and 5 and Verdict Day, 6 was everything I wanted in an Armored Core game and more, honestly. Yeah. I'm so happy. I actually want to get back in. I want to do some builds and really get into the PvP.
Same. I want to do PvP stuff real bad. We gotta set up our squads.
We do.
Like our 3-man, and then just crush through PvP.
I think it's a legit fun time to go.
Oh yeah, I want to do that real bad. Now that I actually have time for it, like finally.
Yeah, I'm getting there. After next week, The only things coming up is the holidays, and probably only something during Thanksgiving. It depends. It's the hard part about living in Washington is during the winter months. The mountain passes have become dangerous, and so it's like,
Yeah.
do I go see
exactly.
family and risk getting caught on the other side of the mountains, or do we just say, see you next year? We'll come by when the snow melts. So
That's my big problem too, because like we are, let's see, we get a big snowstorm every 2 years. We're on year 2. Then we're due for all the mountain passes being deadly. So we'll see, because I usually go do stuff with family. There's one point where I literally flew from Yakima to Seattle, and it was the worst flight of my life because there was actively snowing real hard in the pass. It was the worst turbulence I ever felt, and I thought the plane was gonna just fall out of the air. And I'm not a man who's scared of planes. I think they're fine because statistically it's the safest method of travel. Like, they're totally fine. But when your plane is fucking dropping altitude from dipping and like you're in a roller coaster, start getting freaked out.
Yeah. We had a little bit when we were going to Reykjavik from Norway when we were coming home last time. It was just super rainy, and the plane was coming in, and they couldn't see the strip, and it was super turbulent. The plane actually had to go all the way out and around, and then come back even lower to get underneath the clouds.
Ooh.
So I get you.
Yeah, just like picture that. It probably did take this long for 40 minutes. A 40-minute just flight. That was the entirety of that flight. Just arm like clenched on the seat, just like gripping as tight as I can, trying to distract myself with haha Warhammer Caiaphas Kane being goofy, and then it was just me being like, I'm dying, I'm gonna die here. This is it, this is how I die.
But no, and to be fair, today's TableTalk, I want to talk about the classes a bit, but I've already said pretty much as much as I possibly can in the videos prior and in today's chat. Today's chat is also just kind of a good day to chill, don't have to...
God, yeah.
Don't have anything super major. Don't get me wrong, loved having our guests for the last couple Table Talks. I think I'm going to... I don't normally give out names, but I think I want to... Either I'll get an interview or I'll get Michael Sayer to come on to Table Talk.
Hell yeah.
And do some stuff. That is someone from Paizo I've been really wanting to talk to, and so it's someone I'm pushing to get to chat with. So
I have so many questions for Michael Sayer. Do you know how many times I've directed like suggestions to Paizo, and then it's like they haven't had a name to tie it to? He's the guy.
Also one of the ones who made all the War of Immortal stuff. So,
Yeah. I guess, here's an idea. Interview with Michael Sayer. You have questions. I have suggestions.
And have a nice day, Myriad.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Why doesn't Gunslinger have a minigun?
Right. Give me a Gatling gun.
Like, I understand you're going with the flintlock vibe, but like, have you considered going forward a few hundred years? I'll take a hand crank minigun. I'll do that. Like, I'll meet you in the middle.
But yeah. So I've been talking with people. I think my videos are gonna start changing a little bit going forward. Because something that I literally got from Russia. That's true. Russia is canonical to Pathfinder 2nd edition.
True.
I'll do you one better. Why are guns in Pathfinder?
Because they should be. Every fantasy system should have firearms. It's just kind of cool.
Also, like, guns are actually pretty old. Honestly.
They are pretty, they've been around for a bit. It's not that complicated. You find this funny powder that if you hit too hard or ignite in any way, it just explodes, and then you propel something. It's a pretty basic, like, concept.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's been around for a while.
Like, medieval times, there was also an era that had guns in it.
I know China at least had versions of it, mainly because you know, they had a lot of fireworks and specifically gunpowder. A lot.
They had a lot. They did a lot with gunpowder. Yeah, I think they were the first ones to have guns.
Yeah, I think they were. But who knows? I think recently someone discovered that the steam engine was invented 150 years earlier by some dude in Turkey to run his little small business. And he didn't tell anybody. It's like that also could have just happened. Yeah. Just like someone builds a thing and is like, I just need to do this specific thing, and then doesn't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, or there's just stuff that like is testing. Like right now, we could have medicine that could keep you younger longer, potentially, but it might still be in trial runs and everything, you know. So there's all kinds of stuff that's like that, where it's like sometimes like 50 years earlier the technology was like made, but wasn't like fully fleshed out or like made for like general use until like 50 years after. So it's hard to say. But yeah, also, so as I was saying, like for those of you who are cowboy, samurai, and Renaissance man, and it all be happening at the same time, is true.
Yeah.
But for those of you who might not have been paying attention, the channel's been doing actually really good lately. We hit over 3K last month. We're already a quarter to the next K, pretty much. We're getting more views, more money in general coming into the channel. I have been speaking with some people on some possible sponsorships coming up as well. And I'm bringing this all up not to like bore you guys with the logistics of running a tabletop channel, but more of a tabletop's in a really good spot right now, but it's also like in a spot that it's going to be growing faster and more in the next coming years. Depending on what WotC does and what D&D does in the next like year or so, could be the catalyst for a lot of growth for like indie tabletop, Pathfinder, you know, other kinds of games, depending. There's a lot of ways it could go, and it's not anything to be said for sure, but the one thing that is for sure is tabletop as a general media is growing. People are all the time talking about tabletop a lot more than they ever used to. So many things are coming out. Yeah, Critical Role's new game, Daggerheart, is actually really interesting. I might look into that and do some videos on that as well, depending. I know all the rules are out, and I could do something right now, but I kind of want to wait until closer to the actual release, because I kind of missed the first wave, so I might as well just get the pre-release hype stuff. But there's just a lot of stuff, and this channel is in a really good position where we're a tabletop channel, and I'm becoming more and more known, like in the Twitter space and even in the YouTube space. We've been getting a lot of people coming by the channel, and honestly, like, this channel still produces probably most like some of the highest volume of content of like Pathfinder channels, and we also do variety content on top of that. And so what we're looking at is, the channel is going to go through a boom in the near future. We'll likely hit 5K by the end of this year, honestly speaking, and maybe 10K next year. So in lieu, or not in lieu of that, but in preparation for that, I'm trying to change my content to be a little bit more palatable for people. I've been talking with some people to come up with some ideas. So you might see some different presentation styles in coming videos. And not only that, but there's also going to be a lot of opportunities for us to do more stuff for our audience. I want to be able to do more like giveaways, more like fundraising kind of things, more stuff with the Discord specifically as well. I want to be able to give everyone who supports the channel something, you know what I mean? Something that they can do. And I've been making a lot of really good connections lately in the general sphere of the place. So I want to know what you all want as far as like what you would like to see on the channel, what you'd like to see in the Discord. If we were to do something like a Patreon or something, or do channel memberships, what you guys would like to see in that, and as well merch ideas, if you guys have any ideas for merch as well. There's a lot of stuff that I think will be very rapidly approaching, and I want to, especially for the people who are here now, who are really propping the channel up to where it is currently, I want to make sure your voices are heard first and foremost. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. And I want to be able to do more, but I also want to make this stuff more entertaining. So whatever you guys have, never be afraid to at me in the Discord. If you do send me a message on Discord as well, just know I'm pulling back from responding as much as I used to before, because people would get a little too familiar and it was very weird a few times. So I'll be mostly responding through public channels like the official Discord, on Twitter, all that kinds of stuff. But if you still want to send me ideas, just message directly through Twitter. I'll take those too. I just might not respond back, and don't take it personally if I don't. It's just, you can only step on a landmine so many times before you learn your lesson, And I'm too nice. It just happens when you have a small channel. You're just happy anyone's paying attention. And then it gets weird.
The one part that I'm happy I have not had yet. No one's tried to message me of like a big fan. It's like, oh, thank God, I don't have to deal with that.
You were a lot more cautious about it than I was. And to be fair, nothing that was... I haven't had anything terrible happen yet, but it did open my eyes to potential problems. So, just try to keep it in a way that, like, even a channel, like, this is problems that even a channel that has 3,000 subs has, So imagine what happens when we have 10,000 subs or more, And
I guess the other reason is, I don't have I'm not running a Discord server.
True.
You actually got one for your community. I don't. I'm just a part of a couple communities for like content creators, like that I am associated with.
And we're very rapidly approaching 200 members in our Discord. We've also been having a lot of people chatting. It's been wonderful having James Beck and Phoebe on the server quite a bit, actually. So, even the Discord, which is another reason why I want to make sure that, you know, how the Discord is run works for all y'all and all that kinds of stuff as well. Also, quick question for those who are here. Who here has heard of Fabula Ultima / wants to hear more stuff about it? Because at Gen Con, Fabula Ultima was one of the tables, and a lot of people walked away with Fabula Ultima, and a lot of people have been getting interested in it. And I've been debating whether I want to dedicate some time on the channel to Fabula Ultima or not. Because it's a really fun system, or it looks fun. I haven't actively played it yet, but we've made characters, so we're almost there. We might play it this weekend. I'm just very curious to see if there's any interest, because, you know, if it's an up-and-coming game, I would also love to, like, host it on the channel a bit. So
yeah, at the very least, even doing a overview of the system would be just an interesting idea. But
yeah, maybe like a review.
Just, yeah, like that kind of style of, since people are really talking about it. I've been seeing it a lot ever since you brought it up. A lot of times I've seen it like mentioned, and also like I've heard of this system beforehand. Jess put it to my attention like a while back, and I looked through whatever they had available, and I was like, this looks interesting. And then you mentioned it, and then ever since I've been seeing it in fucking like Twitter, like on our Discord. So even doing like a YouTube poll of y'all interested in this? That is how it be sometimes. Sometimes you're like, I don't know if this system's for me, and then like,
yeah, for sure.
It's wild there.
You know, it's just something that, like, if what I was talking with someone like the other day is just like, I deliver information very well on like Pathfinder stuff and everything. Like, I'm really good at presenting stuff to people, but I haven't been able to really get that entertainment value high enough yet to get more people like hyped, more general audience hype for it. And doing some researching and figuring some stuff out, I feel like I'm gonna have a video tomorrow. It's gonna be a Lancer video. Kind of as a palate cleanser, because I've just been so deep in Pathfinder recently. Having a little shakeup will be nice. But it's going to be a Lancer video tomorrow. It's going to have a little bit more of the new style in it. And if I can get my entertainment quality to a slightly higher degree, I feel like the channel will just start exploding. Because I'm already delivering information people want. There's a lot of people who love the content that's made on the channel, but it just doesn't have general appeal to get people to stay on for more than like a few minutes, or to keep coming back, for instance. So if that goes up, I think even not by a whole heck of a lot, we'll start seeing the channel grow, and we might get, you know, hundreds of subs in like a week or so. Like, people don't understand how quickly it can get out of control. And now that I have pretty firm roots in like the Twitter space, and now that I'm generally known even in like YouTube space for Pathfinder, I feel like we have a lot of the ingredients, so we just need like a video or two to like get really big, and then suddenly we're gonna see even these table talks will start having 100, 200 people showing up, you know, chatting about. And it's just gonna be a big change. And before that happens, I want to make sure that, you know, I'm paying attention to those of you who are here right now, so that, you know, even when there's a sea of people here, I'm keeping your thoughts in mind for how to move the channel forward, because I appreciate what all you bring, or how you all support the channel. You know, there's a lot of people here who have done a lot. There's a lot of people who help a lot in our Discord. A lot of you that I remember your names and can't wait to see you every week. And I don't want to lose that with the people who supported us up till this point. You know what I mean? It's why I wanted to mention it in the first place. Is not to get super parasocial, but your guys' support has mattered a lot, and y'all have done a lot and made these chats actually. You know, when we started it, I didn't even think we would ever really get to chat with anyone for a long time, but we've been having wonderful discussions with tons of people in the chat.
It has been immensely fun, and I'm very happy it's not just the two of us having a conversation with the stream open. Now it is like people are here and also contributing and correcting us when we need it.
Yeah, I need to be corrected a lot too. I just get things wrong all the time. I'm not afraid to be wrong though. I'll state when I am wrong for sure. So, you know, even more reason why to nurture those people who've been here to help that much. It's just it's scary not knowing how things will change in the near future, and now that I just have a gut feeling that the channel is going to be going through some pretty big changes in the very near future. Like I said, by the end of this year, we're probably going to start seeing some of that start up, and next year is going to be just a crazy year in general for the channel. I have a very strong suspicion of that, and I usually have a pretty good gut instinct for it. So, you know, reach out, let me know what you want. I'll do my best to comply as much as I'm able to. There's still, you know, still gotta keep my own life in order. But I wanted to mention that before things started getting too crazy, like the sponsorships that I mentioned before, or like the new books coming out. The remaster is going to bring a lot of people into the space. There's a lot of people who've been holding back into getting into Pathfinder because of the remaster. So when the remaster Core 1 drops, we can expect to see a lot of people in Pathfinder. It's also going to be during Christmas, pretty much, like November, December time. So there's just going to be a lot of people looking for the books for Christmas. So as a YouTuber, that's huge for me. Get to talk about it and make content to help people make an informed decision about what they want. There's just a high chance we're going to have a lot of people jumping onto the channel soon. So just know that I'm keeping my eye out. I'm trying to look out for all who've been here first and supporting the channel. And also, recently, we actually just came across our 2-year anniversary 3 days ago.
Oh, shit.
For when I started making Pathfinder content. So.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, my first video was on September 3rd. But September 12th is more the day I consider the anniversary, because that's when the first Why This Class Is Awesome came out, which is, I think, what really took the channel forward. So we're kind of in between those two dates, but, you know, all the more reason for me to pay extra special attention today, as a year ago today, we just broke 1,000 subs. And we were like almost exactly 2,000 subs away. And so in my first year, I made like 1,200 subs or whatever. And then a year after that, I've made 2K more subs over that, you know? So next year, if the same multitude improves, we're going to be at over, you know, close to or over 10K. And that's going to be a huge thing. And 10K is also just a big part for most YouTuber channels, because that's when you're a lot more considered for a lot of different things.
That is like the big step after 1K. It's like 10K. And yeah,
10K is like
a year ago. Goddamn, we're only 1,000.
Yeah, 10K is like part-time YouTuber. That's when you're considered like doing it a little bit for some extra, you know, Dasha on the side or whatever. And then like 100K is full-time YouTuber. So, you know, we'll have to see. I'm very optimistic because I know how I will do in the channel, and I know that Tabletop is in a place where it's very likely to start expanding way faster than we've seen it before. I was talking to James Beck. I'm not going to continue too long, Pat. One last thing I want to say is I was talking to James Beck, and I was just like, yeah, 10 years ago, no one was talking about Tabletop. 10 years ago was before 5th edition's release. And Tabletop was still like a niche hobby, like a super niche hobby. And now, I mean, like, we just had a D&D movie came out that was honestly pretty good. I actually thoroughly enjoyed that movie. And we have some pretty big YouTube channels now that are in the tabletop space. Even if we discount Critical Role and Dimension 20, which a lot of people cite as like professional YouTubing, you know, with like people who are in the industry or whatever. Like, look at XP Level 3, look at Mr. Rex, look at Ginny D. All those channels do really well in our actual businesses. That was something unimaginable for tabletop 10 years ago. And that's because there's a market for it. There's a lot of people who want tabletop content.
People are hungry for it. Finally. Thankfully.
And
It's a fucking dope hobby. I'm glad I got into it when everyone else was because of Critical Role.
True. And now we're in a position where we're actually really good off. The channel already has a good history with variety content. We're already a Pathfinder channel. I haven't done anything super cringe or terrible yet. So, you know, that beats out a few other channels that talked about tabletop. You know, let's ignore the Taking 20 debacle.
Yeah, just don't like claim something because you ran
Give
the
it
game
time.
like shit.
Ah, Dead Phoenix. You wound me. But
There'll be one take that you have that'll somewhat skyrocket because people will take it out of context.
I'm sure.
And imagine
tabletop
how many views we'd get on TableTalk if that happened.
Right. Right. And that's the thing is like eventually we'll just get to a point where it doesn't matter if we have controversial views as long as they're not like horrendously controversial. It'll just be profit.
My most controversial Pathfinder opinion is that druids are lame. So
that's true, Mike. Yeah, the new D&D movie was good, but the old movies were really fun too. That's also fair.
I heard there was one old D&D movie that was dog shit though.
I'm sure.
I don't know. I don't know what it was, but all I remember was Joshua Sawyer was talking about it. And he's the dev for like Fallout New Vegas and Icewind Dale, and he talked about him and his team going out there to get better touch with D&D and leaving the theater embarrassed about the game they were working on. Which makes me want to see it because that sounds really fun.
But we've gone over time. I'm sure Alex has more stuff to get to.
I do. I gotta go over my script, get some dinner. I gotta record earlier so I don't die tomorrow. Especially because I have D&D after a long work shift.
So anything you want to leave us with? I just spent like the last 10 minutes going over all my stuff. Is there anything you want to leave us with before we head out?
Two things. One thing channel related for me, the other one not.
Fair.
The part that is related. I just put out a new video. I've been back in like regular uploads. If y'all give a shit about Warhammer 40k or just kind of want to get into it, I just released a video on a very underrated Primarch, Ferrus Manus, the man who died like fucking immediately. Also, the video's pretty fire, my opinion. I popped off, maybe because I was so stressed out for an entire week. Kind of channels your performance sometimes. Pretty good video. And then, other than that, not channel related. Y'all know that One Piece live action like Netflix show?
Yeah.
Actually fire.
I've heard that. I haven't seen it yet.
I watched it. I mean, because I was planning to watch it with y'all. Like, we're gonna stream in the Discord. My partner wanted to watch it because we've had a rough week, and I'm not gonna be like, no, I'm not gonna watch a show you want to watch. So I've seen like 4 episodes at this point. Holy shit, it is actually good.
I like how one of the biggest complaints about it is it's too much like the source material.
Oh, that specific quote has been wildly taken out of context for that guy. I feel very bad for him because IGN editors fucked him. His point was it's so much like the source material when they reference certain scenes from like the manga or the anime, it doesn't hit because like there's no context in the show. They have these moments that are like, oh yeah, that's from One Piece, it's from the anime, and then like they don't have the payoff that all the anime did. However, there's so many little fucking details that are so fun. Like I'll mention this one, and then we can actually end.
No.
There's a part that I think is just so funny in the moment I immediately knew. When they introduce Zoro, like right at the beginning, it's like the first, like, I think 10 minutes. Zoro gets ambushed by a Baroque's work agent. And, like, number 9. And, he like, does his whole posturing of, like, whatever. And, like, if someone's gonna approach me, I'm kind of insulted it wasn't number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, that is a line in the Baroque work art where Zoro's like, "Oh yeah, these guys, they approached me like way back. I said no because I wanted to be number 1." And it's like,
that's
oh,
fun.
okay, yeah, they actually did reference that with the scene to show how cool Zoro is.
That's cool.
And like, yeah, that's the part that's actually really cool. Is the whole aspect of it being an anime, it's not embarrassed of its source material. It's embracing it, and there's so many parts that they do change to be like, yeah, this is like not anime, this is a live action show, and so they have live action show stuff, and the reinterpretations of certain characters and like how the story progresses is really cool. I really like live action Buggy. Holy fuck, live action Buggy is fantastic.
I've seen some good scenes from the live action Buggy stuff.
He's so threatening. I think his introduction is way cooler than it was in the original. Also because that means we don't have to watch Syrup Village again, which is a little boring. But yeah, no, it is dope. It is they don't explain that. They never, even in the original thing, they don't explain what the transponder snails are. They're just snails. Just don't worry about it. It's a snail.
I think it's just because Den Den Mushi is just a fun thing to say.
Yeah, like I when I first saw it, I was like, this is probably some pun I don't get because I don't speak Japanese. That's Oda. It's a weird joke that he finds funny, so now it's part of the world building. Which, I mean, what else could you ask for?
That's fair. But that's gonna be it for us. Thank you all so much for watching. More great stuff coming up here on the channel soon, and as well, like I said, thank you all so much for the support you guys have done for the channel up until this point. We'd not be here without y'all. I hope I'm able to do right by y'all going forward. So, try to keep me in line. I'll do my best to try to stay in line. But I was expecting the channel
to catch me. I'm bobbing and weaving. You're gonna have some trouble.
We'll let you go, you wild man. We'll just let you do your own thing on your own channel.
What I do,
we'll eat popcorn and watch.
Yeah, just watch as I get when I get a popular Warhammer channel, I completely take my success by making another Primarch tier list.
Yeah.
Because you know what, I'll say it again, Sanguinius is fucking boring. And I'll get murdered by the Blood Angel fanboys.
Yeah. Well, alright. Good night.
Night.